Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey from Lockstill Distillery. Make your own luck, just like Tennessee football's fast-paced Rattle and Snap offense with Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey. To the Vols in the NFL draft. We're going to really, obviously, this is A to Z Sports Nashville is our parent company with this podcast, and they do broadcasts every day about the Titans, and the Titans are in the state of Tennessee. And so I will say they are set to meet with Will Levis today, I believe. Or no, maybe tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, the report that I saw was that they're set to meet with Hendon Hooker. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of that. That's just it was on Twitter. All those NFL reporters just say that stuff. You don't ever really hear what comes of those things. But I'll put it this way. If the Titans take Will Levis, and even like I think Hendon Hooker will be available a little bit down the road. I'm not sure he's going to be a first round pick. There's sort of, a little bit of talk in a bunch of different ways there with Hooker because people are concerned about his injury, yada, yada. I think we all know. But if they draft Will Levis, especially at that like number 11 spot, just send me off a cliff, please. I don't know. But with that said, if Hendon Hooker is still available at a later point because people get spooked by his injury, please, Titans. I love Hendon Hooker. I love his work ethic. Obviously, I am extremely biased and am seeing everything through orange-colored glasses, but I would love to see that man in a Titans jersey, although I doubt I will.
Yeah, it's really tough to project where Hendon Hooker will go. It's always tough with the quarterbacks. I always think about, speaking of the Titans, Malik Willis last season. I mean, we saw him in mock drafts going to the Panthers in the top 10, the Steelers. I think they had like the number 24 pick, and they ended up passing on to take Kenny Pickett. Falls all the way down to the third round. So much of the stuff you hear right now, you really don't know what's accurate, what's not. But just the body of work from Hendon Hooker and Will Levis, when you compare the two and you take out how hard Will Levis throws the ball or how far he can throw it and any of that stuff, there's really no comparison for me when it comes to Hooker and Levis. Now, I'm not going to put Hooker in that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud category just yet. I think Bryce Young, to me, is the clear best quarterback in the draft. I mean, just look at what he did to Tennessee, a lot of other games. He's a legit superstar, his size aside. Between Hooker and Levis, like, it seems like a no-brainer. Levis was a turnover machine. He didn't keep his composure well at times. He would appear frustrated when things didn't go his way. Didn't make the right decisions all the time. Threw an interception like one every 28 passes, I think, this past season, where Hooker's was, I think, like one in every 60, 59, 60 passes or something like that. I mean, even Joe Milton has a better, interception ratio than Will Levis. I've never really understood the love for Will Levis, and maybe this is another situation where he's a guy that falls to the second or third round where they're just trying to hype him up to conceal their draft plans. I think that does happen quite often. I'm interested to see where Hooker goes, though. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there where he'd be an ideal fit. The Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, Seattle Seahawks, several of these teams that Tampa Bay Buccaneers that have later picks, they have a quarterback maybe right now, but it's not really like their franchise guy where you could bring Hooker in and let him compete for that job, sit a little bit because of the knee injury, and maybe win the job going into the next offseason. I mean, there's several scenarios there that make a lot of sense for Hooker. And the Titans are a similar situation as that with Ryan Tannehill and not really having a clear answer since that doesn't appear to be Willis and they let Josh Dobbs go back to the Browns. I could certainly see the Titans being interested, but I don't think they'd be interested that high in the first round.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, outside of the Titans and just kind of dropping that part of it, we've had this discussion in the last few weeks, honestly, numerous times at this point, but I still just don't get it. What do people see in the kid from Kentucky? What am I missing? What? Maybe when you meet this kid in person, there's like something different, and that happens sometimes. I feel like people, maybe I'm a decent example of this. Like, people maybe watch this show and I'm pretty like exuberant, enthusiastic, and I'm kind of loud. And then you meet me in real life and I'm reserved. I'm a more reserved person in a big social setting, things like that. Maybe it's that. it's like he projects one thing on a football field, and then when you actually get him behind closed doors, he actually like pulls it together and seems better. I don't know, because yeah, what we've seen is a turnover machine, got his head beat in by Tennessee. And what we've seen from Hendon Hooker is an incredible leader who barely ever threw an interception and who has shown great ability and great poise and great maturity and all, just pick your thing there. The kid had it all. He even wrote a children's book. He's like, Hendon Hooker is such a great dude, but then also a great quarterback. And I just don't see it. Few things go better with a Tennessee sports victory than an awesome whiskey. And actually, me and Jonathan Crompton had a drink of whiskey during the postgame show of every football win this past season. And more specifically, we had Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. You can see it right there behind me. Log Still Distillery has released a new Tennessee whiskey product line called Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey, named after a long-forgotten game of chance. Rattle and Snap is a whiskey for those who make their own luck. There's a 4-year and an 8-year version of Rattle and Snap whiskey, and actually, this one behind me is the 4-year version right here. It's perfect for making your favorite whiskey cocktails or just drinking neat. It's really great stuff, and I mean, you can see it there. The bottle looks great too. You can find Rattle and Snap right now in stores across Tennessee, and Rattle and Snap is also available in Kentucky, Indiana, and Mississippi. So run, don't walk to get yourself some Rattle and Snap whiskey, and follow Rattle and Snap on Instagram at Rattle and Snap Whiskey. That is Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. You said, I mean, with Bryce Young, sure, I completely see it. CJ Stroud, of course I see it. But people bring up Anthony Richardson here in the comments. I don't know that I see it there. He's been linked to the Titans too. Please no. At least
I
don't know. I don't. His ceiling's high.
Yeah, he has a high ceiling. We don't have enough info on him yet. He had the 1 year here at Florida, and we didn't really see enough from him. I feel like he has the potential there. I wouldn't want to use a top 10 pick on him because I think it's a severe boom or bust potential type situation with him. With Levis, there's a little bit more to go on. And I'll tell you, I like Anthony Richardson's demeanor better than Levis's. And I could be totally wrong here, but the vibe I get from Levis is a very Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, where he's trying to be a leader. He's trying to say the right things. He's very aware of his actions and how they'll be perceived. And he's like, I don't want to say putting on an act. It just doesn't feel genuine. Whereas Hendon Hooker is more of that, just he's himself. And we've seen he's had multiple sound bites, where they kind of go viral, not even like because he was trying to. I mean, they just go viral because it's a very genuine reaction where he's talking about his wide receivers getting open and he can't help that, or talking about playing with a chip on his shoulder at Tennessee because of disrespect. There's all these little moments that just seem very genuine coming from him. And I think that's why Tennessee players were so willing to follow him, and why Joe Milton, even as his direct competition, was so willing to follow him last season. And that's an intangible that you really can't quantify it with numbers at the combine or watching them throw. And it's the thing that Joe Burrow has. And I'm not trying to compare Hendon Hooker to Joe Burrow. I know we went down that road a little bit during the season last year. Joe Burrow is a superstar in his own right. But he does have that natural leadership ability, and several other guys in the NFL do as well. And I feel like Hooker has that. Doesn't mean that he's going to go in the NFL and light it up. If you've kept up with the NFL draft at all over the years, projecting what quarterbacks will do is nearly impossible. We've seen so many can't miss guys end up being bust. It happens all the time. So you don't want to put those expectations on Hooker either way. I just see some of those intangibles that I think make him a better fit for an NFL team than Will Levis.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because I don't know, a weird part of it from our foundational level is like Hooker would be older than a lot of the guys on the team already and kind of come installed that way, which that could also be a little hazardous, I guess, just because he would be an old rookie like that. But still, he has those leadership intangibles that I just don't see with Levis. It just seems fake and kind of manufactured, and just, even in sort of the stunts that he's done, like the whole like mayonnaise in the coffee and like eating a banana with the peel still on it. I'm like, what are you doing? What is this? I don't get it, but Lord knows, maybe he'll go into the pros and just prove us all wrong, and then we're gonna look silly, I
I
guess.
mean,
But
certainly possible.
whatever.
I mean,
As of right now, I
and for
don't
you,
see
him
it
going
at
to the
all.
Colts and doing that would be a nightmare scenario.
Oh boy. Yeah, please no. Although what I would love is if he got drafted by the Colts and then he was exactly what we think he's going to be. That would be. So
Yeah.
it's a little there's boomer bust potential there, kind of
Mhm.
like Anthony Richardson. But yeah, either way, we'll just time will tell as far as that goes. Who really knows what'll happen there? But I'm certainly rooting for Hendon Hooker and Titans. Don't you dare draft Will Levis. I swear to you. Although I think Elias Gray, he said the scariest scenario that I heard. Yeah, here it is. Scariest thing I heard was trading up to grab Anthony Richardson. No. No. Not on somebody that's that risky of a prospect.
It's a really tough spot for the Titans to be in, not to get into too much Titans talk here, but to need a quarterback where, Ryan Tannehill obviously is his time's running out in Nashville. His time as an NFL player is nearing its end. I mean, obviously he's not a spring chicken anymore. Titans need a quarterback. They need a quarterback of the future, and they're sitting there with the number 11 pick where there's not really an obvious guy that you want to trade up for in this draft. I mean, even Bryce Young has question marks with his size. CJ Stroud might be the more sure option. It's hard to know for sure. Again, projecting what they'll do. But outside of those two guys, even with those two guys, it's not a Joe Burrow type situation or an Andrew Luck type situation where this guy is pretty much a can't miss prospect. There's so much yet to be seen with both of those guys, and then obviously Hooker, Levis, and Richardson. A lot of questions there. So what do you do if you're the Titans? You just pass, take an offensive lineman. Maybe try to grab somebody in the second or third round, which you tried to do last season with Malik Willis, and that didn't really work out. It's kind of that NFL purgatory that the Titans are in right now. They're not a bad team, but they're not about to compete for a Super Bowl either, and that's kind of the worst place to be. Like I almost feel like just tank, go get a top draft pick, try to get Caleb Williams next year, and move forward that way. I think you could find success much quicker than trying to just tread water and keep improving and retooling instead of rebuilding, as they like to say.
That probably is the right answer. I'll be fascinated to see how all that goes. I don't think I've even said it so far for anybody that might be a new watcher. Obviously, I'm a giant Titans fan, along with being a giant Vols fan. But I think an offensive lineman and packing it in for a quarterback next season is probably the move, especially now that you got Jeffrey Simmons locked in. But that's for a different show on this network. I'll let them litigate that.